In the past few weeks, there has been a cataclysmic series of events that has led to the downfall of Bashar al-Assad. He has fled Syria and he has been given asylum by Russia. And everyone is now asking what is going to be the next day for Syria and what will also that mean for Europe and the world at large. But before we say more about this, you can visit our website. We have a suggestion to make if you want to buy someone a Christmas present and you don't know exactly what to buy. We have this good option. You can buy them a subscription on our website. I think this doesn't apply for people who are already. It's not a subscribe for themselves. It's a subscribe for other persons.
Else, yeah.
Yes. So definitely visit our website and consider that option. Right. So back to our topic. The war in Syria is a very complex war.
Oh, yeah.
The conflict has started since 2011, and it has gone through several phases, and there was a sort of balance up until recently. That balance was resting on an agreement that the president of Turkey, Recep Erdogan, had with Bashar al-Assad. They had a ceasefire agreement, but now this balance has been completely disrupted. And all hell broke loose for Assad, and his regime fell. So what happened here is that the previous balance had lots of Kurds controlling the northeast part of Syria. There have been several Turkish-backed forces in the north fighting the Syrians. There is also a rebel coalition here named HTS. I think it's called the Organization for the Liberation of the Levant. And Assad was controlling most of Syria. And but all this fell like a house of cards.
Collapsed over the weekend.
Yeah. So the question is, why did this balance get disrupted? There are several reasons. Part of it has to do with the transitional period in the U.S. Trump hasn't been sworn in, but he has been vocally against meddling into the affairs of Syria. We will talk about that, but I think the main reason has to do with the war in Israel, and especially Israel in Lebanon attacking Hezbollah and Iran. So what's going on is that the Assad regime was backed mainly by Russia, Iran, and also Hezbollah. The attacks of Israel in Lebanon made lots of Hezbollah supporters and Hezbollah members, as well as the Iran, to focus their attention and their forces on Lebanon. And a lot of people said, well, this is right now the opportunity to make gains. So we have HTS in the northwest. They launched a surprise offensive. They captured several villages and provinces of Aleppo. They blocked the M5 highway, which connects Aleppo to Damascus, which is the capital here in the south. And everyone started making advances because it was evident that Assad had lost the backing of the army. His army wasn't particularly enthusiastic, and also Russia, who is his main ally, it has all its focus in Ukraine.
Yeah, they're a bit committed elsewhere.
Yeah, so what happened was that they took Aleppo, they took Hama. A lot of rebel coalitions in the south attacked Damascus from the south. They captured southern provinces. Then we have some other forces here, backed by the U.S., who attacked Damascus from the north. Then the HTS continued its advance south in Hom. We had also the Turkish-backed forces making advances, also the Kurds making advances. So literally everyone now is competing for a pie of Assad's previous grounds.
Listen, I've got about 3,000 hours in Rome Total War. Here's how Assad can still win this, right?
I hope that translates, because I've got an embarrassing amount of hours in Total War.
I know.
Right. So here as we say, Assad is leaving, and everyone is focusing now attention on the leader of HDS, who is called Al-Jolani. I think
he looks like Zelensky with a tan a little bit and a beard.
I think that's on
Think it
purpose as well. You notice he's ditched the kind of jihadi camo.
Right. So what happens here is that they essentially, as they say, the military since early in the civil war had depended heavily on outside forces to reinforce its lines. Iran and the Syrian regime brought in militias from Lebanon, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Russia had provided warplanes, air defenses, and military advisors. Yet, as Assad dialed for help from foreign governments in his last hours as Syria's leader, he found he had run out of allies and military allegiance. And I think late this Saturday he fled Syria.
Yeah.
He went to Russia. Right, so here rebels seized Damascus, and there are several considerations about what is going to happen. The rhetoric in some groups seems a bit more friendly towards Christians, let's say, but this is always something to be aware about. You can see this is trending. There is anxiety about what's going to happen. We have people essentially saying that these people are Islamists, and that's bad news for Christians. And however much people blamed Assad was someone who could hold this area under control, and he also could be good for the Christian population of Syria. So people can scroll down here and look at all the videos that we have. Yet, personally, I'm very worried. I have to say that I'm very worried, and I don't sympathize with lots of the statements coming from the EU and the West about how this is a brand new day and an excellent day and everything is just rosy. It's not.
Yeah, let's pause on that for a minute. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, there's lots of potential for some unfortunate circumstances. At least Assad was a stabilizing force, whereas we don't know whether there's going to be a significant radical Islamic terror group establishing itself.
I think we do, because the guy who we'd previously just looked at is a terrorist.
Well, it's more as if...
Like he was
obviously,
Al-Nusra.
Obviously, there are lots
Al-Qaeda.
of different groups competing, and we don't know which one is going to ultimately triumph. And so that's what I was getting at here. But with the Kurds as well, they've obviously got a history with communism and liking it, which I don't like. Yeah. So we've got this wonderful blend of do we get communists, do we get Islamists? I mean, whatever happens, whatever the outcome is, I don't think it's going to be good for our side of politics personally, and the people celebrating it are very naive.
So they're very premature.
Just the thing, I'm not even worried about our side of politics. Syria is essentially a kind of artificial state, right? It's a kind of, something that I don't doubt the Western powers essentially carved up. And now we're trying to stitch together a bunch of people who just don't want to be in a political state with one another, right? I think Aristotle's right. The base of the state is friendship, and these people don't have that. And so you've got these dramatically competing groups, and we're just going to be like, okay, well, Assad's gone. There are a bunch of people who I'm just going to describe as jihadis taking over, as well as other ethnic interests who are also ideological. Like, this is going to become a real... I don't want to swear. It's going to go very badly.
It's not going to be good, no.
I don't think if I would phrase it in the exact way, but I think that one of the interesting things to look at here is whether in this case, in this area of the world, religious identity matters more than ethnic identity. Some people view themselves as Syrians, others view themselves as Muslims or
Christians. The thing is, there's also there's ethno-religious identities where certain tribes are certain kinds of that paradigm of religion, right? And so, you've got different particularities where you can't just say, oh, well, it's just one abstract, these are Christians, these are this, these are that, and therefore this all maps conveniently to a kind of philosophical framework. It's not that simple. It's all about relations, because it's all tribal war.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and now one of the considerations has to do with how are all these people going to coexist. And one of the persons who has put himself forward as the potential leader of the new coalition of forces is Abu Muhammad al-Jalani. I think he was born in 1982 in Saudi Arabia, and he has been associated with al-Nusra. A lot of people say he founded it.
Yeah.
And if he wasn't alone, he was one of the founders.
Yeah.
And al-Nusra was supposed to be closely affiliated to Al-Qaeda, but a lot of people are saying that he has, at least rhetorically, tried to take some distance from it.
Okay, but let's pause there, right? So you've got a foreign ideological leader who's been leading a jihadi insurgency against the Syrian regime. For what goal? Well, it's not for the benefit of Syrians, is it? No, it's going to be the benefit for a dogmatic Islamic regime, right? And it's not like we haven't seen this before. So it's just like, okay, but why would you want that guy? Like, if you were a Syrian, why would you want that guy? I mean, he's literally a terrorist. He's not allowed to enter Britain. He would have been arrested. And as you've got there, well, maybe we'll take him off of it. So what, the Taliban coming off the terrorist list? I mean, like, is all that is required to not become a terrorist anymore is knock off the government, and now you're not a terrorist? Like,
Yeah.
Well, objectively, yes.
exactly, right? But the point is, and the fact that the West is essentially trying to massage his reputation in the West, like, well, look, guys, I know he's a part of Al-Nusra and Al-Qaeda and all this, but he's literally a terrorist, but he is diversity friendly, and it's like, oh, God, come on.
Yeah, this is the overextension of the Quiz for Palestine rhetoric.
Very much so, yeah.
Now it expands throughout the Middle East.
Sure, but what it demonstrates is that the Islamic jihadis are not only not native to Syria, like they weren't in Iraq or Afghanistan, but they are also being used by the sort of neocon establishment in the West as a way of knocking off allies of Russia and Iran. Now, I'm not saying we can't knock off allies of Russia and Iran or anything like that, but I want us to be honest about it and not be like, oh yeah, well actually these are the good guys. It's like, no, they're just a convenient political tool that we're using to attack our enemies. That's fine, just be honest.
So I've got a couple of things to add. First of which, I don't think that we should intervene. This is none of our business, or America's, really. And I also think one thing that is likely to happen is that Israel is going to try and hoover up a lot of territory of what was formerly Syria. And it's probably going to continue to take more because it's going to be relatively disorganised, and they can capitalise being an organised force against a disorganised mixture of groups. And
I'm sure that a lot of people are, like, Turkey's probably eyeing up territory in the north.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Yeah, but this is what happens when a kind of inauthentic state like Syria ends up collapsing, right? So, okay, what do we default back to, if not the kind of nationalistic construct of the, late 19th, early 20th century? Well, we go back to ethnic tribal groups. Okay, well, maybe it should have been carved up that way in the beginning. Anyway.
I agree.
Well, it may. I think that it may lead towards that. Unfortunately, it may lead towards this.
Yeah, but is it unfortunate, or is it essentially a kind of
the
restoration
center of gravity?
Probably the means with which
sure
people are going to lead towards that is going to be the unfortunate.
Oh yeah, I mean it's.
I don't think they're going to wake up one day and say, okay, fine, take this area, take that other area, and we're going to live in peace, because a lot of the ideology. A lot of these groups have is very expansionist and seems to be directly opposite to something of a solution of the sort.
But also, like, we're just going to see the same effect that removing Saddam had, which is, okay, you've killed the bloodthirsty dictator, but you've left a massive power vacuum, and the people the dictator was persecuting weren't also good people. Like, they weren't like liberal Democrats who were like, yeah, we just want democracy and political representation and constitutionalism, guys. No, they were actually worse than the dictator in many ways.
There are some parts of the world where everyone is bad.
Yeah. Well, not even necessarily just everyone is bad. It's just the political factions are worse. So, like, I remember a few years ago reading a book about the beginning and rise of ISIS, and these guys were just mental, absolutely mental.
No way.
Yeah, no, I know, you struggle to believe it, but basically a career criminal was converted in prison, like, not converted, but radicalized in some sort of Jordanian prison. And he was an insane thug who would go around raping men and things like this, right? And then suddenly, we're going to have like a provisional government in Iraq. It's like, what you're going to get is like incredibly devoted bands of really bad men going around doing terrible things. And that's what they did for years. And it's just the same sort of environment is being created in Syria right now. And it's just like, okay, this is just... Again, I'm not like some humanitarian. I don't really care what happens in Syria. But you're going to get a lot of terrorism coming out of this. That's it.
So Donald Trump issued a statement, and he sort of echoes Josh's sentiment. He says that the U.S. should have nothing to do with it. This is not our fight. Let it play out. Do not get involved. Suffice it to say that the U.S. is backing the Kurds. But I will say that this seems to me to be there seems to me to be something behind this. I really don't think that this is as simple as he says.
Yeah, I don't agree.
And I really doubt that the U.S. is going to pull out, as Trump says.
Well, just a quick thing on that then. Okay, so there seems to be quite a lot of evidence at this point, and Keith Woods actually did a really good thread showing that the Israelis have been giving aid and succor to the jihadis in Syria, and they have been for years. So, okay, well, I mean, again, they're not doing it because they're sympathetic to the cause. They're doing it because they're a useful tool. And it's like, okay, well, who gives all of this money and material to Israel to be able to do that? Well, it's the United States and the rest of the West. So, okay, this is our problem, actually.
You will see where my segment is heading, because you have anticipated some of the stuff I'll show towards the end. J.D. Vaughn says the same thing. He also says, I'm nervous because the last time that people were celebrating about things like that in Syria, we saw the mass slaughter of Christians and a refugee crisis that destabilized Europe. Yep. So now we have a lot of people from a lot of Syrian nationals who are across Europe cheering. Here we have them in Germany, in England, in Belgium, in Greece. They're everywhere.
Well, they can all go home now, can't they? Because, the oppressor Assad is gone and they can have their Islamic utopia. So I look forward to seeing every single one of them step on a plane and never come back.
Some of them are
it's not going to happen.
Some of them are fighting in the UK.
No, this is a meme.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
it's based on a real thing.
Of course it is. Why did I do that?
I mean, it makes sense, because if countries import people from areas in conflict, well, a lot of these loyalties don't get suddenly erased.
That's why they
can be replicated
in fighting on the streets. Too many Greeks. No, I'm joking.
Right. Yeah. So basically, what I wanted to say is that the fighter groups now are saying that Israel is next. I'll take that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, right. When did they ever attack Israel?
I'll take that with a pinch of salt.
What's that? You've got a pager message.
But as you'll see where this segment is going. Right. So the Israelis now are airstriking targets in Syria, in the south, and also in Damascus, because they want to destroy equipment so that it doesn't fall into the hands of the rebels. And there should have been a link here, but there isn't. But anyway, so what the issue is here, that we are trying to think of what is going to happen now in Syria. First of all, I don't think that it's going to be peaceful. I'm not saying that I don't want peace there. I want, but I sadly think that there won't be any peace. The major players now are going to be the Kurds in the northeast, and lots of Turkish-backed forces in Syria. Sure. Now, Turkey and Israel are having a sort of a feud, because Erdogan is saying that Netanyahu is essentially a war criminal and someone who is a satanic state, who represents a satanic state. That's what Erdogan says. Yep. Netanyahu says is that he who doesn't stop lying about Israel slaughters the Kurds in his own country and denies the terrible slaughter of the Armenian people, shouldn't preach to Israel. Erdogan, stop lying.
So just a quick thing. It always cracks me up when Middle Eastern regimes try to morally grandstand against each other.
Just own it, yeah.
Yeah, just guys, you're all awful.
I just say, yeah, I killed them, and yeah, I'm happy about it. Come
on, man.
So what I think is going to happen now is the following: that the Israelis are going to try to form an alliance with the Kurds.
Maybe, yeah.
The Turks want to hurt the Kurds, and they also want to project might in the region, and they are already somehow backing the HTS. I think that this is going to continue. So if the HTS controls Syria, and the HTS has really strong ties to Turkey, then the borders between Turkey and Israel are really close. Yeah. They're not as far as they used to be. Yeah. Trump says that he's going to stop backing the Kurds and stop backing people in the region. I don't believe that. If Israel says that they're going to form an alliance with the Kurds. I think Trump is going to aid Israel and also aid the Kurds.
Yeah.
And here I just found this, which I think confirms that there are some tendencies for this. Israel's foreign minister calls for ties with Kurds and other minorities in the Middle East. They're saying they're natural allies for Israel as relations with Turkey sour. Sure. But we need to also remember it isn't just with Turkey that Kurds are bordering with. It's also Iran.
Yeah.
And Iran is yet another enemy of Israel. So it seems to me that we are going to look at lots of conflict there. It isn't going to stop. Most probably, there are going to be extra migration flows to Europe.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that everyone who is cheering really prematurely.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I think somehow it's going to be my tax dollars and my tax dollars shooting each other again. But I think nothing good comes of any of this, actually. And brilliant. What a wonderful development for the end of 2024. Glee says, as someone who's racked up thousands of hours of Hearts of Iron, I can conclude that Assad used the wrong occupation garrison template. Well, I think Assad's problem really was relying on Syrian troops. The Syrians have always been terrible soldiers.
Well, where else would he get them from?
Well, I mean, foreign mercenaries? I don't know. Like, Machiavelli wouldn't have advised it, but if your choice is between Syrians and foreign mercenaries...
I think there's a long and storied history, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. But the thing is, there's a long and storied history of the Syrians not being great warriors. So...
We were talking about this before as well, weren't we? Where I could have sworn that the Syrian archers for Rome were quite good. It might just be because in Rome too, they're some of the best units.
Well, there we go. There may have been a small unit of auxiliary archers from Syria who were notable, but that's not an army.
That's true.
It's not an army. But anyway, Dragon Lady, again, on my Rome 2 experience. Dragon Lady Chris says, remember when the Libyan slave markets came back after Gaddafi was overthrown? This feels like sort of a repeat. Yeah, well, this is the point, isn't it? Like, because, okay, yeah, I'm not like a fan of Middle Eastern dictators, but at least Gaddafi had swag. No, I'm joking. He did, but like the point being, what the secular dictators did is persecute the jihadis who want to literally start cutting off people's heads because that's what the Prophet Muhammad would have done, or some stupid nonsense like that. And so, like, we're looking, look at all these Syrian refugees in Europe. Hey, why are they refugees? Why was Assad persecuting them? Oh, right, they were.
Well, it's a ridiculous sort of notion that all of these American foreign office people think that if you get rid of the secular dictatorship, you'll get liberal democracy, but what you actually get is Islamic theocracy.
Yeah.
Your choice is between secular dictatorship or Islamic theocracy. You can't really have your system.
OPHUK here, like, and I'm not entirely against this either. He says, I'm for a dogmatic Islamic regime in Syria. Like, yeah, okay, fair enough. I mean, that's, if that's what is going to happen, I'm not necessarily even against it. It might not be inappropriate for the region or something like that. But, like, the reason that the West demonizes the secular Arab dictators is just because they're allied with people like Russia, right? We were big fans of Saddam Hussein right up until the point where he was just like, no, I don't want to have any of it. And then we overthrew him. It's like, it's not like, I'm sick of the, oh, look at the human rights violations. It's like, oh, shut up. We don't care about that.
No,
that's a total cover. It's like
we didn't
Israel
have to pay for it, and we didn't have to take the refugees. I wouldn't care what was going on in Syria. It's not a problem.
They don't care either, which is why they were allied with him while he was doing all these terrible things. And so it's all such a flimsy front for everything. And I'm just like, look, it's all just naked self-interest between different ethnic groups in the Middle East. Fine, whatever, just solve it. Just resolve it however you want. I don't care. It's not my business. Thanks for watching, folks. If you'd like to support us, go sign up to the website, £5 a month, or you could buy someone a premium gift subscription, which is a new feature that we have, and go and watch Bo's Epoch series on the rise of Vercingetorix. He's doing a very, very long and very, very detailed breakdown of the life of Julius Caesar. And of course, part 13 is Vercingetorix becoming the opposition, the Celtic opposition to Julius Caesar. I'm not going to spoil it. Go and watch that. And of course, go and follow us on X at Lotus Eaters _com for when we upload things and for more information.